A climbing bike has to be two things: lightweight and stiff. That means my top climbing bike picks aren't cheap, but they will help you fly up the side of a mountain. So be sure to watch until the end for my ultimate 2026 pick. We are going in hard for my first pick with the Wilier Verticale SLR. Full build prices start at £8,750 for an Ultegra model, and they top out at well over £13,000 for a Campagnolo Super Record built bike. It's safe to say then that the Verticale isn't something you'll see all too often. That said, with its lightest build coming in at under a claimed 6.6 kilos, it's clear that this bike has been designed for steep gradients. All full builds come with carbon wheels from Bianchi, and all but one of the SRAM builds comes with a power meter. The Verticale has been raced on the World Tour since it was launched ahead of the 2024 Tour de France. However, its baked-in race pedigree isn't the best thing about it. I think the Verticale shines thanks to the incredible paint jobs that you can buy it in. It's rare to see a brand add what must be a very heavy paint job to a bike that's been designed to be lightweight. But that's the lack of sense I want from a bike coming out of Italy. The Italians have always got space for a bit of flair. While the Verticale is clearly a bike that can deliver on the roads, that's not the reason why I want it. I want one just because it looks so good. A bike which is maybe more substance over style is the Cervelo R5. Don't get me wrong, it's still a very pretty bike, and I am of course a big fan of the traditional frame shape. It's very second gen Cannondale Super 6 Evo. But after being used by Team Visma Lease bike at the Tour de France, it's fair to say that the R5 has been ridden in a way that none of us mere mortals could ever manage to. It also manages to make the Wilier Verticale look heavy thanks to its claimed weight of 5.97 kilos. Going sub 6 for an off-the-shelf build is quite remarkable. Cervelo achieved this by focusing on saving weight from all of the Cervelo components, which it claims resulted in a combined 326 gram saving compared to the previous generation. Once again, full builds start at a largely unattainable price point of £8,500 for an Ultegra spec bike, and top out at £11,500 for a full SRAM Red build. Cervelo does offer a rather unique Red Explore build that features a 1x drivetrain. Personally though, for a bike like this, I would opt for a conventional 2x setup. All builds come with a power meter, carbon reserve wheels, and a one-piece carbon cockpit. Sadly, unlike the Verticale, the offered paint options are very stripped back in a bid to save weight. So if you're more about KOMs than you are looking good at the cafe, then this bike is the way to go. Next up is a bike which thankfully doesn't start at £8,000. No, instead, the Scott Addict RC starts at £4,899. I say that as if that's not a huge sum of money, which it obviously is, but with climbing bikes, you need to take the wins where you can. The Addict RC is a bike I'm a big fan of, not just because it's slightly more attainable, but because it feels great to ride. Across the range, you have a race-ready geometry, carbon wheels, and a super refined set of frame components, which helped save a lot of weight compared to the previous generation of the Addict. The most affordable Addict RC 30 build has a claimed weight of 7.7 kilos, while the ultimate build comes in at 6.1 kilos. In my opinion, both are incredibly impressive for their respective specifications. The build which I think stands out as being rather good is the Dura-Ace Pro build. It costs £8,399 here in the UK and tips the scales at a claimed 6.8 kilos. That's a good weight, and it leaves plenty of room to further reduce it with some upgrades. Compared to the other Dura-Ace spec bikes out in the market, this one will cost you a few thousand less. Another bike, which sits at the slightly more competitive end of the price spectrum, is the Giant TCR. The TCR was launched back in 1997 and has a long history of being the brand's lightweight climbing bike, and the latest generation is clear evidence of that. Builds start at a reasonable £2,299. That is for the TCR Advance 2 with the Shimano 105 mechanical group set with alloy wheels, which in reality won't be very light at all. The TCR tops out at £10,499 for the Advanced SL0 build, which comes with a full SRAM red group set, carbon wheels from Giant's in-house brand K-Dex, and a fully integrated seat tube. That build has a claimed weight of 6.4 kilos. Unlike a lot of other bikes on this list, the TCR offers a wide variety of different build options, allowing you a better chance of finding a specification which will really suit your style of riding and budget. I also really like that Giant hasn't given all of its TCR frames similar paint jobs. There's a good variety of colours, meaning the chances of bumping into someone with the same bike as you decreases just that little bit more. Back to the flamboyant Italians now, and the Bianchi Specialissima might have plenty of flair, but it's not the kind of flair that I want. I've always struggled to get on board with the tube shapes of the current generation of Specialissima, especially when the previous generation looked so good. However, that said, I would be remiss to exclude it from my list since it has been raced at the highest level of professional cycling and comes from one of cycling's oldest bike brands. Somewhat surprisingly, the Specialissima is offered in a Shimano 105 Di2 build as its entry-level option. It will cost you £4,350, but in the context of this video, that now doesn't seem too crazy. Prices top out at just shy of £11,000 for a Dura-Race build. But Bianchi being Bianchi, it has also released a Founder Edition build which costs £18,885. That's right, you did hear me correctly. It's a full custom build with scope wheels, custom ceramic speed jockey wheels, a THM crank and carbon tie brake rotors. Since the wheels are so deep, I am not going to call this build a climbing bike. But the Dura-Race build, with its claimed 6.6 kilo weight and shallow 33mm carbon wheels, will be much better suited to converting its rider into a mountain goat. Of course, if we're going to talk about the best climbing bikes, then we cannot exclude the Colnago V5Rs, the bike which chaperoned Tadej Pogačar to Tour de France victory. Yes, he did also ride his very aero Y1 RS and did so with good success in the hills. But for us more normal cyclists, the V5 RS will be a better bike for use when the road heads up. At £9,000, the V5 RS has the highest starting price of any of the bikes on this list, and it can go up to well over £12,000 for a top spec build. This one isn't for the faint-hearted. You've really got to want something that's incredibly rare, be able to pay for it, and be a massive Tadej Pogačar fan. But to be honest, I guess we're all the latter. Some bikes look skeletal, but the Factor O2 VAM takes it to a new level with its pencil-like seat stays and ultra-thin top tube. It has a claimed weight of 6.4 kilos for a 54cm bike built with a Dura-Race group set. While some users do raise questions about the quality control of Factor's products, it hasn't stopped the brand's rise in popularity. Prices start at a hefty $11,299 for an Ultegra built bike. That roughly converts to about $8,500, bringing it in line with other premium climbing bikes. Builds top out at $13,499 or roughly £10,200 for a SRAM red build. The O2 VAM is a bike that I would love to spend some more time riding because I think it looks really good. There is a non-VAM version of the O2 available. It doesn't make the same claims about lightness as the VAM version does, but if you want that Factor name on your down tube and you want something which is also tailored for riding uphill but does carry an extra bit of timber, then this could be worth considering. If you're not prepared to spend factor O2 VAM levels of money, and really I don't blame you if you're not, then take a look at the Orbea Orca. To my eye, the Orca shares a few visual similarities with the O2 VAM, like its incredibly thin tubes. The Orca has a slightly heavier claimed weight of 6.7 kilos, so it's still very light, but it's also a fair bit more affordable than many of the other bikes on this list. For example, the full build started a respectable £2,399 for a mechanical 105 build, going all the way up to £9,999 for the lightest SRAM Red build. Yes, there is a team replica option at $10,999, but if you just want the lightest, then thankfully you don't need to spend that much money. Orbea has its own in-house customization program called Mayo, and thanks to this, you can really dial in what you want fitted to your bike, or even go so far as to give your bike some custom paint. All this to say, much like many of the other bikes that I've mentioned, the Orca is a World Tour race bike that manages to combine lightweight with customization and better than most prices. So it's not one to sleep on. Lastly, we get to my overall climbing bike pick for 2026, and it is the Specialized S-Works Athos 2. The Athos 2 was launched with a less aggressive geometry compared to the original Athos, which borrowed its geometry from the tarmac. And I am so glad that Specialized made the change, because it makes it so much better for normal people. If you really are looking to go uphill quickly, then a bike which doesn't put you in a full race position, but rather one which allows you to get more air into your lungs, will make a bigger difference to your performance when going uphill. While the Athos 2 is less aggressive than a race bike, it's still a long way from being an endurance bike. It's a race bike with the sharp edges rounded off. The power transfer feels great as you pedal, and the low weight of the bike means it's very much at home on the climbs. If you want to find out more on the Athos 2, then I've linked my full video over in the corner of the screen. Much like all dedicated lightweight climbing bikes, it too is very expensive. The S-Work build comes in at £11,499, but builds start from £5,499 for an Ultegra Spect bike with carbon wheels. It's of course a huge lump of cash, but as we've established in this video, somehow that's actually kind of competitive for this category. Let me know down below, do you think I missed any bikes, and which would you choose if you wanted a modern, dedicated climbing bike?